most exciting
Okay, that's all right.
Bombay didn't come back to Delhi. We went to Bombay and stayed in the general.
and then you went first down to
I went down to Territory,
Cherbury.
Croissants.
Oh, okay.
Most interesting trips that we made as a family. This was after Glenn died, and it was very hard for me. The children were away at school, well, except for Ronnie, who was a sophomore.
Junior.
Ronnie was a junior in high school, Kathy a junior in college. Ty was with me, had come to help take care of his father. And Ty had an invitation to go to India. And he said, why don't you come along? And I said, well, we haven't been invited. And shortly thereafter, an invitation came in the mail. So we said, well, we'll go and check it out, and then Ronnie and Kathy can come later if it's right for them. Ty insisted on taking his dog Sheen. They said, well, that only cost you $12, they said, where we got on the plane in Minneapolis. But when we got to New York, we had to pay full fare for Sheen. But we did. She had to go down to the baggage department. When we got to India, Ty had written that we would be there at the full moon, and he thought meant something there. No one was there to meet us, and we had a telephone. We knew the telephone family, and we called, and they came and got us. But our friend was in Bombay, and I suppose they were wondering why we weren't arriving there. That was too long of us. So when an invitation to a trip to India came up, we were very grateful. We arrived in October of 1973, and we stayed 4 months. We landed in Bombay, and from there we went south of Mangalore. We took the plane to Mangalore, but then took the train further down to the family farm, where the main crop was coconuts and cashew nuts. But it was a beautiful place. It was wonderful. Appa and Amma, that's the names that you call father and mother in India, were so nice to us and so helpful. There were a few other Americans there, but we found that trip very interesting. It also inspired us to try to go into business in America with the wonderful tea that they had. We thought we could bring in tea. She said no.
Yeah, that's good.
After the Indian tea and the biscuits, where am I supposed to do? All right.
Ready?
One of the things we particularly liked in India was the tea. It was Indian. It was tea with their tea with we remember so many things that we still would enjoy. And another was Amma's potato soup. It was made with a cream from the coconuts, and it was delicious. Every night we had potato soup, and other things too. Every morning in our little hut, we would get, just at dawn, we would get a pot of India tea. And it was tasted so good. We still have tea in the morning and again about 4 in the afternoon. We would get it with biscuits, and after that we would go up the mountain. And Leela and Sheen would go with us. And we would sit on the rocks and watch the sun go into the sea. It was quite a good exercise for us. We also wanted to go swimming. And in India, nobody goes swimming in the ocean. The women have separate ponds that they swim in, sort of bath places, and men in their separate one. So when we asked to go swimming and Kathy put on her bathing suit, Alma just laughed. And she said, well, I'll take you swimming. And we went to the ocean where there was a beach, and it didn't seem like anybody was around. Kathy went in, and I didn't put on a suit, but I waded in. And when we turned around, there were about 200 people there, just looking. They'd never seen anybody go into an ocean before. And Alma was laughing and thought that was a good joke. Okay. We made several trips to India after that. These were on business things that we were going to have. But all of the family except Steve, who was not. For 7 years, somebody went to India and back. We had brought back gems and rugs, to sell. And when that closed in the 80s, we missed the trip in the winter. So we thought we'd try Mexico. The first trip I made was with two Hispanic workers with the migrants. My good friend Genevieve Morales was very happy too to go. We went to the President's, it's called Presidente, and found that they warned us, now don't listen to any of these people selling condos. They just cheat you. But we went out, we got a free breakfast, we thought no harm in that. So we found this a delightful one, halfway up the mountain. It had a beautiful view. It had a cart that would take you up and down. We had both the sea and private pools. That was 10 years ago, and we've gone back every time. It was so like India, both in the climate and the buildings and the views. They had also the tropical fruits and the coconut trees and kind of bad roads. But so it seemed a very nice place to go in the winter.
Good.
My sister Vi and I, the two youngest, would play together and have a lot of fun. She was very imaginative, but she always was a little jealous because I was the baby and my father used to take me on his lap and rock me to sleep longer than, and she was 2 years older and she was supposed to be grown, so she would sometimes feel like eliminating me. When we got older, we would fight. We'd enjoy fighting. We'd plan it. We'd get down like wrestlers and say, okay, go, and we'd really pummel each other, not too hard. But she was heavier and a little stronger than I was, so I would just lightly scratch her. Just enough, not enough to, it did leave a scar sometimes, but it didn't bleed or anything or hurt her. It just looked funny. One time she had knocked me down and she had kicked me in the stomach and I lost my breath, so Mother had come out. She got a little worried herself, but Mother said, now what have you done? And she said, I don't know. I raised my leg and there was her stomach. So we had, but she had was lots of fun to play with because she always was making up, we would have fashion shows, we would have plays, we would have places to go. Swimming, they all knew how to swim except me, so they just threw me into the irrigation ditch one time. And I learned to swim, but I certainly didn't like water in my nose. After that, I was a little bit afraid to get under the water. So I was the worst swimmer in the crowd.
How about the bed? What was about the bed?
Oh, we had to sleep together, and we had different chores to do. But she was always cheating because she wanted to sleep next to the window. And when it came my turn, she'd turn the bed around and say, no, it's her turn. Don't you see? Her pillow was there. Then that would create another little wrestling. The year I was 15, I was a junior. I came out for the summer to stay at home. And Ronnie and his cousin were renting the farm, and they needed a cook. So Viola and I were supposed to cook. Well, conveniently, I got a stomach ache that day and couldn't go. And we were supposed to work for 2 weeks during the harvest. So I said, well, Ronnie, I don't have a car. Oh, you can use my car. I didn't want to tell him I didn't know how to drive a car. So I said, well, maybe it drives a little different. No, he said, you just do this and this, and you stop and you go. I said, it'll be fine. Well, the first day I drove out, I was going a little bit fast on the road, and all of a sudden I saw the place where I had to turn in. So instead of stopping and backing up, I just made a turn, and I not only went in, and I went up on a rock pile. And it hit the canister underneath, so the oil started dripping out. I got home, but I thought I better tell him because nobody could drive it till I fixed it up. But I didn't want to tell him that I'd never driven a car before. At that, so I was going to cook for him, so I made glorified rice, and I made all these fancy dishes. They didn't want that. They wanted, and then there was a former cook there, Shorty Collins, his name was, and he said, don't you worry, I'll cook, you wash the dishes, and you can make the sandwiches, bring us off the sandwiches and things. We can't work on glorified rice. So he would have potatoes and meat and everything. Early in the morning, pancakes, whatever it called for. And I just had to wash the dishes and clean it up, and at 10 o'clock in the morning bring them out at lunch. And there were just sandwiches and food, something to drink. I used to have to take a bath, and the way we took a bath was, there was a horse tank up in the where you climbed up on the windmill, and you could look around and see if anybody was coming for miles, you know. So I had to duck into that and get myself dressed again. So I was always worried if someone might come the other highway and I wouldn't see them.